There's a brand new certificate we can earn from Atlassian under their ACH or Atlassian Certificate Holder designation, and that is for Forge. This is their developer platform, so it's where groups or individuals go to create new apps in the Atlassian ecosystem. I personally don't build apps in the Atlassian ecosystem. I have experience using JavaScript and other scripting languages, but I figured it would be fun to go in and see if I can earn this certificate. Now, personally, I like to earn certifications for a number of reasons, but one of the biggest is I get to learn new things, which is why I'm going to jump in and do this. I don't know a lot about Forge, so a great way to learn is to test myself, to go in and take this certificate. Now, this exam is, of course, for anyone who develops in Forge. However, I spend a lot of my time talking to and working with developers. I'm not necessarily one myself, but by going through that certification process, by sitting down and taking the learning course and taking the exam, I now know a little bit about what my team does. It makes it easier for me to talk to a developer. I'll understand what they mean by a manifest, or by a scope, or what Forge can do in general. And this makes me a better teammate. It makes it easier for me to take what my customer or business or someone I'm talking to needs and work with a developer to solve that problem. So I'll encourage you, even if you don't write code yourself, but if you work around people who do, or work with them frequently, maybe you're a project manager, a sales rep, someone like that, this is definitely worth your time. It'll give you the background context, so when you work with these teams, you'll be able to talk the talk a little bit better, and you'll be able to understand more about what they do and translate what you need them to do much more effectively. So even if you don't write code, it's definitely worth checking out. Now, a couple things to know before I get started. First, the certificate is free. There will be 20 questions, I'll have about 45 minutes, and it's also open book. This means I can use the learning path that Atlassian has, it's entirely free, to help me understand what's going on. Let's take a look at what this certificate is, what information we can get about it, and you'll see my live reaction as I go through it. I won't show you the questions or give you the answers, but you will see me react and see how I do. So, with that in mind, let's take a look and learn more about this particular certificate. This is the Atlassian credential page, and if I scroll down a bit, there's an Atlassian Certificate Holder section. Right now, there are two certificates, one on Rovo, which came out a month or two ago. Highly recommend it. Again, it's free. It'll teach you about Rovo. And here we're going to look at the Forge Fundamentals. Now, in the middle, I'll get information on the exam, including what it covers and what it will help me do, who it's designed for, and then the exam topics. So I can expect roughly 35% of the questions are around the architecture, 30% around the use cases, etc. Again, these ACH certificates are free. I get about 45 minutes, 20 questions, 70% score, and it is non-proctored. That means it's open notes. I can go into the learning path and learn about it. Now that learning path shows up right down here under recommended training, and this is the same for all of their certificates and certifications and credentials. So I'll click Start Prepping for Free, and here I can see the learning path. Now I'll be using this as a reference to help my knowledge. This is also something I can go through entirely independently of the exam, and there's a lot under on-demand learning, but today we'll focus on this one for Forge. Hey folks, just have to pop in here for a minute. Please take the learning path first, especially if you're less than familiar with Forge. This will help fill out your knowledge. What I'm doing in this video is just fun to see if I can figure it out on the fly, but recommended take the learning course first. All right, let's go see how I did. So now that we know where this is, let's schedule our exam. This is done through a group called Certiverse that will handle the exam itself. It contains all the questions. I'll go to Schedule Exam and click on Certiverse. There are other credentials that use PSI, and scroll to the bottom and SSO to Certiverse. Now you may have to set up an account if this is your first time doing this, but once you have an account with Certiverse, it will log you in. Now that we're here, we would go through information, read me first, all this great stuff, but I'm looking for exams. Here I can see my Forge Fundamentals and my Rovo Fundamentals. Just a quick note on this ACH-805, this is the designation for the exam itself. So people might call it this, but really the name of the certificate is Forge Fundamentals. I'll just click on that, and here I have all the information about the exam. I saw most of this on the Atlassian site, but it's a good reminder, and now I'll just click Get Started. Here I'll review information about scheduling, select my location and my company if I have one, click Next, and then just confirm all the information is correct. Now, once I hit accept and continue, the exam's going to start. So what you're going to see of me taking the exam are my reactions to questions, or me jumping into the learning path to understand more. So I'll click accept and continue, and then I'll get started. All right, the first thing I'm seeing is just information about the exam, the details, etc. And I've got my first question. So I'm not going to tell you what these questions are. I want you to learn that yourself. So instead, what I'll have up is the Forge learning path. Again, this is the reference material that was used to make the exam. And so I'm going to start using this learning path to help me understand what's going on, some of the basics around them. Now, a great thing to know about the learning path is it will give you these questions at the bottom that are similar to the exam. One big difference is the exam itself will only have 3 possible answers. 1 will be correct, 2 will be incorrect, or called distractors. There will not be any trick questions, though. They're not going to make up something to try and make you pick the wrong answer, but they do want to test your knowledge. On the exam, you can also flag something for review. I've done this a couple of times already. I just don't know the answer. So I click a little button that says flag for review up in the corner. And this helps ensure that I can go back later and double check it. So don't be afraid to flag them for review and then come back. But also make sure you read the question because they're not going to trick you. They're going to be, but also make sure you read and understand the question. All right, as I'm going through this, there's a lot of questions that I'm referencing the developer documentation for. This includes all the documentation Atlassian has on Forge. So everything from runtimes to triggers to async events. But this has been very helpful because a lot of these questions relate to specific calls or functions that I'm not immediately familiar with. Again, this is all covered in the training, but this is a great reference that I've been using, and I'm picking up a lot of great stuff around the context in the API. So definitely worth checking out in the links below. All right, now there are some questions that do look like they're just bits of commands that you have to pull apart and understand. So in thinking about how I'd prepare for this, I would get in and get hands-on with Forge just to see what it looks like. So in addition to this great free learning material, take some time to get hands-on, and this learning path walks you through that. Like, here's what is Forge, but then you also get to build and deploy a Forge app. So they walk you through setting up the environment. Valuable experience, even if you've developed software somewhere else, because you'll see how Atlassian Forge handles it. Also good for this certificate, because they're going to ask you what these things do. So definitely worth checking out. All right, I've answered all the questions, but I did flag a number for review. Again, as you're taking any certification, especially through Atlassian, flag the items you're not sure about. You'll be able to come back and look at them later. I always recommend put any answer down and come back, just to make sure if you run out of time, there's something there. A 1 in 3 chance is better than 0. So now I'm going to go back and review and double check my answers. I also like to spot check. I will randomly pick questions I've answered that I'm confident in, just to make sure it's the best possible answer and to remind myself maybe I've had more time to think about it or make a better response. So always worth going back to review and spot check if you have extra time. And right now I've got about 15 minutes, so I'm going to go back and review everything. All right, I've clicked finish, and this is always the worst part of these for me. The exam is calculating, it's figuring out if I passed. Hopefully I got more than 70%. Whew. Oh, I made it. I earned a 75%. All right, so that was my experience taking this particular certificate exam. I don't recommend doing what I did. Please take the learning path first. This will prepare you. It will also give you a lot of great knowledge. I'm going to go do that right now because I got a lot of great ideas and I learned a lot of interesting things that I want to learn more about. Even during that exam, because it's proctored and open book, I went down a number of different rabbit holes. So that took me about 30 minutes, but that's a little bit longer because I kept digging and learning more about Forge. And that for me is the point of these. This is a free certificate. It's open book. It's intended to expose us to ideas and make sure we know a minimum amount about the thing. And because of that, we have the flexibility to go in and explore and learn more. So there's a number of follow-up items I have to go investigate and learn about. But I'm going to be spending a lot of time in that learning path. Check out the resources below, and a lot of time in Forge's developer documentation, because that'll help me understand how the tool works. This is also another reason I take any kind of certification. It helps expose me to new things. So it gets me out of the comfort zone of just what I have learned. I learn a lot by doing, by forcing me to learn about new things because that's on the exam. And either I'll have to go study it before, which is the appropriate way to do it, or I'll remember later and have a big long list of things that I want to go learn about. So if you're curious about learning about Forge, check out the learning path. If you already use Forge and want to prove your skills, get the free certificate. It's free, takes under 45 minutes, and I bet either way, you're going to learn a lot. Thank you so much for watching me go through that. Please drop your comments below with what you thought, or if you would like other first reactions or other feedback on Atlassian certificates or credentials. Thanks again. Check out the links below. Make sure you've liked and subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one of these soon.